Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Just going to start sharing our screen. And we will be switching between a couple of different screen modes since Ashley and I are in two separate locations and we're doing different parts of the presentation. So hopefully I can get a head nod or a thumbs up that everybody's seeing our lovely presentation. Hopefully it is there. Thank you for the thumbs up. So I am absolutely so excited today to be here with Dr. Ashton Martin. We are both from SUNY Buffalo State, and we're going to be talking about different interactive technology tools, how you can use those in both online classes, as well as how you can still use these tools if you are indeed transitioning back to a more face-to-face or traditional model in the fall. So first off, I'm Dr. Katrina Fulcher-Rude. I'm an associate professor at SUNY Buffalo State. I teach both undergraduate and graduate courses for students that are hoping to be speech language pathologists. And I specifically teach students at what I like to consider some of their sticky or vulnerable points of their academic career. So I typically have first year students. So they're just coming to college for the first time, just being introduced to the major and the discipline for the first time. And it is a very competitive and demanding major. And sometimes students aren't all necessarily ready for that, or they don't know that. I also teach seniors at the undergrad level who are getting ready to transition either into graduate school or into another profession. And then I also teach students during their first year of their master's program. So now they're transitioning from an undergrad to a graduate program. They're starting clinicals for the first time as well. So there's a lot being thrown at them. And so for today, when Ashley and I were working together to come up with this, we thought, why are we picking these tools? What can we really share? What is our process? And so we're going to be highlighting lots of different tools, and we're going to be sharing the ones that for me, and Ashley is going to talk about what she's sharing and why. They're all to encourage a class community so that all students feel safe in sharing and maybe sometimes getting it wrong and failing and developing and starting to figure out what it is to be a professional. They're also used for me so I can increase my presence, so I can connect with my students so they feel more comfortable coming to talk to me. And it's also about student engagement and student motivation so that we can get beyond the memorization level and really tap into critical thinking and problem solving. And I think I'm probably speaking for all of us, but really the frame that I'm taking today for the different technologies is about how I've really transformed and what's happened in the last 18 months as we all had to teach online due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm sure not the only one, but everybody keeps asking me, aren't you excited to go back? And I think I give an answer that's not expected because in some ways I'm not excited because I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to the professor I was in March 2020. I want to be who I am now because I've really changed. And there's a lot of great things that came out of this. And I actually really loved teaching online and found it so transformational. So I'm not going back. I'm moving forward. And that's a little bit about me. Ashley?
Thanks, Katrina. So I have a little bit different perspective. So I am Dr. Ashton Martin. I'm the Director of Student Achievement Programs at Buffalo State College. And I run our supplemental instruction program. In addition to, I've run a summer bridge program, peer mentoring program, and student achievement support hour. So lots of different supports for students' academic success. So our supplemental instruction program, if you're not familiar with supplemental instruction, this is a peer-led program where undergraduate students support sessions for high DFW courses, the ones that students find really tricky. And all of these sessions are taught using group work. So students should be working together to make sure they reinforce the material and learn that. So all of the strategies and tools that I'm going to share with you today are some of the favorites that my SI leaders use in their classes. I also use all of these in staff meetings, so I show them how to use them in staff meetings, but we also use them because it makes it a lot more fun and interesting. And then also, with all of these tools, I'll never say thank you, COVID, but I feel like we have just learned so much, and we've actually found that, the online is working for us, and we're actually going to continue with that in the future. So we learned so many different technology tools that will just really help us move forward. Yes, DFW, I saw that is D's, F's, and grades of D's, F's, or failure and withdraw. These courses, if we have 30% or more of students that got D's, F's, and W's in the course, we call it a DFW course, a high DFW course, meaning that students historically perform poorly in that course. So the strategies and tools that I'm going to talk about today, like I said, for our program, we really try to make it interactive and engaging. So we try to keep students' attention. We do several different activities throughout the sessions. And we found that this makes the class really interactive for especially synchronous online classes. When you keep the students engaged, you switch activities, you really have them working with the material, but in a fun way. They really just are super interested in and want to work with us. We typically, the DFW courses are ones students are not comfortable with, or they walk in saying that they're just going to fail the course because they've never been good at math, or they've never been good at science. They're just phobic, worried about they'll never be able to understand or pass it. So we get them to not only do well, but they actually have fun and they enjoy it. And they tell me that, hey, I like math now, which is kind of crazy. But it's a great outcome for us. We also encourage group work and collaboration. So they work together the entire time. These activities will help get them to work together. And they also build like a little family, which is really cool. Our faculty constantly tell me that, the classes that have these activities happening in this program, they not only know the professor's name, which sometimes doesn't always happen. I taught one semester and a student asked me during the final exam what my name was. So it happens, but they also know other students in the class. They connect with one another and they're able to make those connections and have friends. And then also it helps create a supportive environment where students become friends, they work together, and they create other study groups. So these strategies have really worked very well for us. So I'm excited to share them with you today.
Okay, great. So I hope you can see that we are both serving students, but Ashley and I serve those students in different ways, which I think it is wonderful that we can come together and share each of these perspectives to hopefully reach a wider audience and give you some tools to go away with. So when we created the presentation, we kind of thought of 3 different buckets or 3 different general themes. And so first we're going to talk about tools that we have for collaboration. So we have a listing here, and you can see that on the, what's my left-hand side with we have 2 that have a little asterisk, Jamboard and Flipgrid. Those are going to be the tools that we actually talk to you about today. Ashley and I felt sometimes we go to these awesome sessions and we get this laundry list of tools, and then we feel like we have homework because now we have to go and investigate some of those. So we're trying to do the best of both worlds, where we're giving you the laundry list, but we've kind of picked out 1 or 2 that we really love, that we've responded to and that students responded to. And we can then walk you through the process of why we chose it and what we do with it. So you can see here, we're going to be speaking about Jamboard and Flipgrid. Ashley will be talking about Jamboard, and then I will hop in and talk about Flipgrid.
All right, so I'm going to talk about Jamboard first. So Jamboard is a digital interactive whiteboard developed by Google, and it's a Google workspace, so it works really well with all the Google applications. It's a space for students to answer questions, share ideas about topics, and I use this all the time in staff meetings too. It's great with faculty to use that to share and work together to get different ideas. So as Katrina said, a lot of times you just get this laundry list and you don't know what to do with it. So rather than just tell you about a technology, I wanted you to actually work with it today.
I'm going to stop sharing now, Ashley, so that you can share.
Thanks.
Okay.
So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to have you all actually join a Jamboard. And the link should be in the chat.
It's the second link, I think. Somebody had posted a link to Jamboard itself.
Yes, please use the second link that's under interactive technology tools for Jamboard.
Thank you. So what I would like to do is have you all give us some of your favorite strategies and tools that you used during the COVID-19 pandemic. So on the Jamboard, and hopefully you can all see my screen. Oh, look at this. We got people posting already. Wonderful. On the left-hand side, you will see that there is the fourth button down is a sticky note. So if you want to put some ideas in here, you can choose whatever color you want. So I'll choose pink, and then you can type in what tools and activities you used, and I'll just put Jamboard on there as an example, during the pandemic. And hopefully we can fill up the entire board.
Ashley, just to let you know, in the chat window, some people are receiving that there's a Jamboard limit. So there is a limit to how many people can interact on one Jamboard. I'm not sure the exact number of how many can join at one time. Ashley, I'm not sure if you've run into this before.
I never have, but we do have a lot of people in here. So, so maybe if
30 people, it looks like. So Christina from SUNY Portland, thank you so much. So we have about 80 people in the call on the call. So 30 is the magic number.
So the nice thing about this is you can get a whole ton of ideas and have them running, but you can also refer back to it. So it's really great. We've used this to study for exams. I've had students, give, okay, what are some things that you know really, really well right now, and what are some things you need to work on? So they will create like a list of, these are the things I feel very confident with, and these are the things that I feel a little shaky on and need to reinforce that. And then they have a study list that they can take and go and use when they go to study for an exam. You can also organize things by color if you want. So if you wanted to kind of group together some things that are in common, you can do that. So, we have Zoom on here a few times, maybe we put Zoom all in yellow. I'm loving some of these ideas in here. So Padlet, Poll Everywhere, Nearpod, Zoom Teams, Blackboard Collaborate. Love it, lots of different ideas. And some of these we will actually have on our list or we'll talk about today, so that's great. So I love this because it's super easy to use, very quick to show people how to use it. It has a lot of different functionalities. And something that I like to do is I will make multiple slides. So I'm just going to show you the other one. I won't have you actually work on this, but if you hit the arrow at the top, this is one that I just created to give you an example. So we are, as Katrina said, we're going to show you 3 different buckets of tools and strategies that we thought would be helpful. So I organized them all in here for you to see. So you can see that all the collaboration tools I made green, and I put those all in one area, engaging with content. So, if you're in a meeting or you're talking with students, you can group together the different topics by color, which is really great. I also like to make different slides per group. So if I'm doing some sort of group work, I will have students have their own slide to work on. So if they are in 5 different groups, I'll have one labeled group 1, the next is group 2, and then I tell them, okay, you're going to be in group 2, you're going to go and click and go over to your group, and then we will go into breakout groups. They work with their groups, we come back to the main room, and then I have them share from the groups, but we can also pull up the slides and all of the little notes that they put on there. So it's a really great way to review content or go over things, especially from groups. All right, and I'll stop sharing, Katrina, so you can go on to Flipgrid.
And I just have to say, I've never used Jamboard. And so Ashley was, kind of teaching me all of this as well. And as soon as she taught me, I thought, oh, this is going to be great for collaboration and small group work, and just to have a place where small groups can place all of their information. And then you could have, I'm thinking about having just a Jamboard that's for the class, and we keep all of our discussions in one place, in one Jamboard, since you can add those multiple slides. And then students will be able now to go back and have all of those notes and the organization already there from their discussions in one link. I used to do lots and lots of work on whiteboards when I was in the class. I loved the Zoom whiteboard and an annotated class. So this will be a great way to kind of combine both and to be able to keep all of the great work digitally that we used to use on these physical whiteboards, instead of all of my students coming up and taking these pictures and trying to save them from there. And so people are asking, how is Jamboard connected to the class? I use a link that's directly in Blackboard for the in our LMS. Ashley, how do you connect the students to Jamboard?
Yeah, so we have like usually weekly folders. So we'll just put it in that week's folder and we'll say this is the Jamboard for the week and just add it right to our LMS. I also saw in there people were asking, like, can you post videos or pictures? You can. Actually, the backgrounds that I have are pictures off Google. So I did just add those through that. So you can share a lot on here. There's a lot of different options.
Great.
With that.
So the next collaboration tool we're going to talk about is Flipgrid. And I did see one posted on our Jamboard for that. So I am definitely a Flipgrid lover and convert. And so what Flipgrid is, it's a discussion board, but it's a video-based discussion board. So students are responding to your discussion board prompts via video. And students are able to edit these videos in very much a similar way that they're used to on Snapchat or Instagram or TikTok. They're able to put filters on the videos and stickers on their videos, and they're able to pause it and then insert a YouTube clip or another image in a really easy way. And so also then students can, it looks a little bit more like a social media website, and I'll show it in a second, where students can like each other's posts, and they can comment back via text comments, or they can comment back via their own video comment. And so for me, in designing anything with a discussion board, it's all about, I think what I ended up finding when we transitioned really quickly in March 2020 is that I used discussion boards, and every week, and they were just the discussion boards that were available through Blackboard, very text-based. And my students, my students very much felt the discussion board fatigue. And I think that was one of the parts of the class, those text-based discussion boards, that they really critiqued me harshly on and really didn't enjoy. And so I thought, okay, these discussions are important, but what can I do to make them a little bit more maybe likable and engaging in my students? So first, with any discussion board, to me, I think it is all about the prompts that you ask. Students, like the feedback that I get from students is they do not like to do basic questions on discussion boards. They feel like that's just a review or a reiteration. So I do not use any questions like define this or what is this. So if you're thinking about Bloom's taxonomy, for example, I'm trying to ask questions that are at the top 2 levels of the pyramid when I'm doing my discussion boards. And I try to make them more either opinion-based, or I try to make them problem-solving or case-based questions, where I'll give them either simulated clients or simulated clinical scenarios and say, go and get information from class, then go and find another resource in your Flipgrid, walk everybody through your process. And then what's really nice, because I make them watch everybody else's Flipgrid videos, is that you can solve a problem in multiple different ways. So now there's this great peer-to-peer learning community where students are describing their different critical thinking or decision-making processes, and they can see how somebody else got to a similar answer. So here's some examples that I've done. This was in this first one that you see me kind of circling here. This was the first or second week in a class that I taught about first-person perspectives and disabilities. And I started out with this because if you've ever read David Sedaris' Me Talk Pretty One Day, he is not a fan of speech language pathologists, and he's very blunt about that in this reading. So that's always very shocking to my students. Like, we want to be SLPs, who wouldn't love us? Well, there's some people that don't love you. And did this make you uncomfortable, and why? And I did this because this class, we talk about a lot of uncomfortable topics, and I wanted them to instantly get into, we're going to handle uncomfortable situations. What should we do? And what I also want to point out up here, I don't have a laser pointer here. You can see my little elder wand pointing, but this is a Flipgrid discussion prompt from my graduate level assessment class. You can see I had 20 responses. I had 20 students in the class. That's why there's 20 responses. But if you look, there was 383 views, meaning that's how many times students went back and looked at each other's video or watched their own video. There's over 36 comments, so I'm getting double the, I only require them to comment once, so they're going through and commenting even more than the minimum. And you could see how long people were here, how long they engaged with this post. I really like that because now I'm getting some actual metrics on what my students are actually doing. And they're interacting on here way more than they ever were with text-based discussion. And so then when I was comparing my teaching evals from spring of March 2020 to fall of 2020, when I switched to these video discussion boards, Flipgrid ended up becoming my students' favorite part of my class after discussion boards were the least favorite part. And so I'm not going to read these out loud, but here are some comments that I just copy and pasted off of some class evals. So students really, really responded well. And I got some really interesting, and I'm going to show one really quickly right now. My students really took this and ran. I did relatively little training on how to show them how to use Flipgrid. I gave them directions on how to make a Flipgrid account. The biggest thing with that is making sure that they use the school issued email address. So I had to make sure I reminded my students a lot to use their buffalostate.edu address. So that way I could get to them and grade them those things. And really, I gave them a 5-minute YouTube video that showed how to post on Flipgrid. And that's all the training I gave them. So everything else that they learned was on their own, and they learned it on their own. I only had 2 students that had technical issues this entire year, which I thought that was astounding that it was only 2, because sometimes Flipgrid would have a little glitch and it might delete their video or something like that if they were on an unstable internet connection. But that very rarely happens. So I'm not going to show all 6 minutes of this. I did get my students' permission, Ken's permission to show this. So this is what Ken did with a video where I asked to talk about how would you define language now, and is it important? So let me just show you a little bit of what Ken did.
The definition of language has now changed for me. I think that language is something that your brain does when it processes. Your brain processes many languages at a time. Anything that the universe speaks to you, whatnot, like smell, sight, hearing, touch, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. These are all the things your brain uses to communicate through the universe, should I say. For example, let's say that you're a child and you just freshly came in the world and your parents are talking in a language that you do not understand yourselves. The more you hear it, your brain processes it, and you start to speak that language. Your brain also speaks the language of smell. If something smells good,
I'm going to pause it there. Trust me.
you're like,
Yes, Ken, great video. Pause that there and go back. So you can see here really what he's done is he's learned how to stop, start. He's adding in YouTube videos. He's adding in his own images. He brought in some things that I showed in class, other things that I didn't. And my students in general got really creative with this. Even when the next one that the next discussion top that week was create your own communication model. And I had students that drew everything on these poster boards and they're showing up their poster boards and they're moving them around. They got really, really into this. And I think too, it also, you know, students get a little bit worried. And let me, oh, sorry, I have to click through to where we were here. Students get worried, especially on discussion boards, you know, oh, my spelling, how do I sound? What, you know, this, I'm telling you, I'm not grading you on your grammar or your syntax or your structure. I want to see the effort you're putting in. I want to see your creative thinking. I want to see your problem solving. I tell them, be bold, get it wrong. This is the time to get it wrong now. You know, so that way, you know, because it's low stakes grading, take a chance, think outside of the box. So now that we're thinking about transitioning into face-to-face classes, and I'll be teaching 2 face-to-face and 1 online in the fall, I'm not going to be getting rid of Flipgrid. I'm going to be actually using this. I used to do exit tickets a lot where students would write on note cards. What did you learn today? How are you going to use it to prepare for the next class? What concept didn't you understand? And so they would do that. Now, instead, what I'm going to do is that they're going to have a Flipgrid exercise that they have to do as an exit ticket for that week's class. This way we can have interactions outside of the class. I'll make sure in the discussion prompts to have them connect it to either the previous week or the week coming up, or make connections across their classes. And I am going to make it so they still have to go back and respond to 1 or 2 of their classmates. That way we're still getting more students to participate, especially for those quiet students that might not always want to pipe up in large group discussions. So there's a question about accessibility. So their Flipgrid does do the closed captioning for you that you can turn on, which is great. It also allows for variable playback speed. So I have some students that slow it down a little bit to help with understanding. When I'm listening to them, I listen to them on 2+ speed so I can kind of get through them very quickly. So there are some accessibility options there. This is free to use for students. They have apps for both Android and Apple. The phone apps work great, or you can use your web browser. And I'm going to have students actually respond after they leave class as part of a low stakes homework assignment. That's what I'm going to do on their own time. And so with that, I will turn this back over to Ashley.
Thank you. So you just mentioned too that the Flipgrid is free. Every single technology we're showing you today is actually free. We didn't want to give you anything that you have to pay for. There are options on some of them to upgrade different technology tools, but every single one that we're showing you today is completely free. So the next bucket of tools that we wanted to share with you is tools that help engage with the content. So again, on this next slide, we gave really our favorites that we have on here. And I'm going to be honest, it was really hard for me to decide on only 2 to share because I love all of them. And they all have different uses, and our students really like interacting with them. So I'm going to share with you, we're going to share the Jeopardy Lab, Quizlet Live, and Voicethread today. But definitely check out the other tools that are on here: Desmos, Edpuzzle, Factile, Flippity, Google Classroom, Math Whiteboard, Nearpod, Quizlet, and Quizzes as well. They're all really great, but we wanted to dive into a few a little bit more rather than go over all of them, but it was a tough decision. So the first one I'm going to go over today is Jeopardy Labs. So this is a free online Jeopardy template that allows you to create a Jeopardy game without a PowerPoint. I have done Jeopardy through PowerPoint, and it's really, really difficult to create the PowerPoint and have all of the different slides and make sure they connect to the right one. And so this is a really awesome online tool that lets you just type in the questions right on there. You can choose how many different categories you want, how many questions you want for each of them. And it's really easy to use in the classroom as well. It provides a really great way to review for multiple topics in one game. So I love using Jeopardy, especially for reviewing for an exam. You can go over all of the topics that were covered in that part of the class. but you can have each one have its own category so students can choose which one they want to do. And usually I make sure that they're choosing from all of them so that we're not only reviewing one topic because they think that one's the easy one. And then it also provides a really great way to keep score. So something that when I did a PowerPoint or I did this in person or something that I sort of struggled with was trying to make sure I was keeping score and adding it correctly and everything. And so this tool actually keeps score for you, which is really awesome. And it can be used in person or face-to-face. We've actually done this both ways. So if I was to do this, that says in person or face-to-face, sorry, I should say online or face-to-face. So if we were to do it online, we did this in just a main room, have all of the students join and then just tell them who's in what group. One of the tricks that we had that we tried to do was to say when you say who's in what group, we would like take a screenshot or post on a PowerPoint slide or something who the students are that are in that group. That's my little tech trick for you, so they don't forget who's in their group. Because when you say group one, it's your turn and they all forget whose turn it is or what group they're in, it's a little bit more difficult. And then face to face, I would just physically group the students around the room. So put them all sitting together in desks that are all together. You can create it's completely up to you. It just really, I always just go by how many students are in the classroom. So if I have 20 students, maybe I would put them in 5 groups of 4 so that everyone's getting a chance to answer. So it really just totally depends on the size of your class. So the Jeopardy Lab's website is the first one that's there. And then I also just wanted to provide you with an example one to look at. So I am going to screen share to show you that, to kind of show you what it would look like if you were to play this with your class. Okay, so this is one that's already created. So if you go to the main Jeopardy Labs website, that's just how you would make it. But if you're in class, you're like ready to run the Jeopardy game, you just start by deciding how many teams you have. So again, like I said, I just decide how many teams I want based on how many students are in the class, but also just how many show up that day to make sure that you split it up evenly and then also allow for some discussion. So let's say that I had a group of, I had 4 teams that I wanted to have. You just select how many teams you want and then hit start. This one is an algebra Jeopardy lab. So if you look, the different topics are across the top. So we have simple equations, functions, slope, intercept, linear equations, slope and simplifying equations, and then evaluating and property. So with Jeopardy, just like Jeopardy that you would see on TV, the questions get harder with the higher the number. So 100 level question should be an easier question than a 500 point question. So that's also a nice thing to do, is maybe you would have more like vocab questions toward the top. And then if you have something where you want them to work out a really long problem, or you wanted them to have a discussion about something and give a little bit more thorough response, you would want to rate the questions with that. So in the class, while you're running the session, let's say you had a group say they want to do slope, intercept, linear equations for 300. You just click on the 300 box, and then it gives them some sort of equation. So you just give them a few minutes to solve that. And then you reveal the correct question by just hitting the space bar. So it pops up right on there for you. And then if the class, or if the group got it correct, what you do is down here, you just hit the little plus button. So it'll actually add the 300 points for you. So again, this takes away that you having to, keep the tally, or I always, I forget to put the numbers on the board and the students are like, wait a minute, we got that right. Hurry, put the points on there. They get really heated during these games. So it's really nice. It keeps it on there for them. If you also just made a mistake, you actually meant to put it with group 2, you can hit the minus and it'll disappear. And then you could hit the plus on the correct team. So this one we use all the time. You can use it really for any class, and it's really awesome, especially for review, but you can do it many times throughout the semester.
All right, great. So, all right, I'm just gonna go back and share my screen again. I always have to narrate. I don't know why. There we go.
While you're doing that, I saw there was a question in the
Mhm.
chat there. So as far as do the students answer aloud, it really depends on the type of question. So for a math question, for example, they could say it aloud, but if I was in person, I might ask them to, as a group, come to the board to write out the question, or maybe they write it on a piece of paper and then they hand it in to me to see if it's correct. If it is online, usually I would say that I'm going to get into this later actually, but I would say they could put it in the chat. They could say it out loud, or we use an app called GroupMe. And so a lot of times we'll actually take a picture. I'll have the students take the picture of their work and send it through that. So that it's real time, I can get it really quick and then we can see if it's correct.
All right, great. And I know that many individuals are familiar with Kahoot, so I'm not going to demonstrate Kahoot, which is the next kind of tool that we have today. And in case you don't know, students love Kahoot. It's similar to Jeopardy. It does allow for synchronous quizzing in class. The free version of Kahoot allows you to use multiple choice and true false questions. You are able, if you want to pay a little money for a premium account and have more question options available to you. However, I stick with the free things. I've used this in my virtual classes all the time this semester, just screen sharing, pulling it right up in our Zoom classes during synchronous classes. Students logging in right there with their laptops or phones, and we go from there. I tend to use it for review days before exams, but I will also use it as part of kind of an entry ticket or a review of any lecture materials or reading materials that students were asked to prepare before they came to class. That way it allows me to do a quick comprehension check to make sure that everybody is on the same page, and it'll allow me in time to realize, okay, these students have the foundation that they need for the class today. We can go ahead with the the class activities as planned. Or it tells me nobody has prepared, or maybe they prepared, but they're just not getting it. And so I need to do a little bit more of a formal lecture, since the majority of my class time is always spent doing small and large group problem solving, case studies, simulations, interactive work. Students do a lot of the foundational kind of lectures and readings outside of my class. So I use a little bit of a flipped model classroom. So Kahoot has been great for quizzing, and I'm going to continue to use it. And one thing, some ideas that have been coming to me that has been very helpful. I don't know about many of you, but when my students see a review day on the syllabus, I think they view that as a free day. I think they view it as, yes, Fulcher has given us time off, to which I have not. And so then all of a sudden I will have, almost 98% attendance in all of my classes. And then that review day class, 2 students show up. And I don't know if that's just because it's a review class, or, they're thinking, I'm not learning anything new. I can have time to work on another class. Who knows what is in the mind of students? So what I do to encourage participation and attendance in review class is that I tell students for the top 2 or 3 questions that were most frequently answered incorrectly during review, you can guarantee you're going to have to answer those on an exam. So that way it gives students a little incentive to come, and also they feel kind of reduces their anxiety a little bit about the exam, because they're like, hey, I'm going to get at least 2 or 3 answers right. I also involve my students in review day by having them actually, as part of some of their exit or entry tickets or some of their low stake assignments during the week, I have students make exam or quiz or review questions. If it's a really good, great question that I like, I'll put it in the review. And I also tell them as incentive, if it's a great question, I'll put it on the exam. And also I give students access to the questions and to the Kahoot afterwards. And I've really taught my students how to then use that as a review or a training tool. And what my students have done is they've then taken those questions or that material, and they've in their study groups kind of formed Quizlet and flashcards that they go back and forth through. So I think the main thing with Kahoot, as well as Jeopardy, or maybe there's some great chat going on about, Factile and some other, I'm not keeping up with everything, but some other great tools is, you have to give students, I think, something to do to actively participate and engage. And so me having it linked to other higher stakes assignments have been really good for participation. And I also like that students write questions because I think it taps into a different set of knowledge, and that means they're learning it in slightly a different way. And students have in general have said that they felt more prepared for the exam, less exam anxiety when they're going in for these types of things. And Ashley, I'm gonna bring it to you for Quizlet Live.
All right, great, thank you. So Quizlet Live is a free online game show application, and it forces students to work together. So if you've heard of Quizlet, that gives you the flashcards, and there's a lot of things you can do for students to help them make study materials. But Quizlet Live is a game that you would actually play with the students. They all are in one group together, and in the group, everyone has their own device that they're working on. They all will have different answers, but only one person in the entire group would have the correct answer. So they have to talk together, which is why this is actually one of my favorites that we do. So when they're in the group, if they do not speak to each other, they will get the answers wrong because they'll hit the button that's on their screen and they won't know that someone else had the correct answer. So they really have to actually turn their mics on, read the questions in their groups, look and see, okay, you have this answer, who has the correct one. So it really enhances communication, helps students work together. It's a great way to reinforce vocabulary in particular. And you can also redo it, and it will actually give them the same questions or sometimes different questions, but it mixes up the answers. So they wouldn't always get the same answers on their screens. So that it can increase accuracy over time. The answers are pre-populated by the game. So yes, it will populate the answers. And what it does is it takes all of the answers that you gave as answers during all the questions that you wrote. So you'll write a question, write the answer, question, answer, and it will pull all the answers that you have in that bank and throw them on. So sometimes it'll make absolutely no sense. They'll know right away, oh, okay, that's clearly not the answer. But sometimes, it's tricky because they're very similar questions or similar type answers, especially if you're testing them on vocabulary, making sure they really know the right answer is important. Also, students, again, they have to work together to answer the questions. So it's on their device, but one person has the correct answer. When we do this online, we put them in different breakout groups. So the game actually auto-populates the groups, and then we put them in the different breakout groups, and they'll race together to win, to see who wins first. And it'll actually tell them how they're doing across the top of the screen. And then it will say the raccoons won, because it's always an animal. So it'll tell you who won for the day. And then we'll often bring them back to the main room, talk about things, and then we'll throw them back into breakout groups so they can try again. If they're in person, I think it's logistically a lot easier because you just have them sit together in the room, so you don't have to do the breakout rooms. But it's the same concept where they physically just sit together as a group. And then it's nice because you can project the screen and it'll have the two bars going across the top to say who's winning the game the entire time. So the link to the website is there, but I do have just a short little introduction video. This one's fun to actually see, and it's nice to see an actual demonstration of what it looks like. All right, let's share my screen here. Okay.
Meet Quizlet Live, the easy-to-use classroom game that blends competition and collaboration to engage every student in learning. Quizlet Live groups students into teams that must work together to win. While teams are prompted with the same set of questions, each teammate sees different possible answers, and only one person per team has the match. Students need to communicate to choose the correct answer and move forward in the game. As they play, the teacher's screen acts as an interactive leaderboard, tracking each team's progress and adding fire to the competition. If a team answers incorrectly, they go all the way back to the start, so choosing simply for speed won't work. Instead, the stronger their teamwork, the faster they'll go. And the first team to correctly answer all questions in a row wins. When the game ends, the teacher can lead a class review, or easily start a new round to give students another chance at glory. To play, you'll need an internet connection, one device per student, a teacher-controlled computer, and a way to project. Start by logging into your Quizlet account and choosing a study set. Select Live to generate a game code, then project your screen so your class can see. Have students open the Quizlet app or go to quizlet.live in their browser. After they enter the code, they can add their name to join the game. Everyone in? Your students will be instantly grouped into teams. If possible, ask them to get up to sit with their teammates. When they're settled, start the game and let the fun begin. Quizlet Live. Competition, collaboration, ultimate student engagement.
All right, so Quizlet Live is super awesome. I love it. Our students love it. A tip I do have for you is there is a learning curve to it, because if students do just want to race and they're trying to, just win, they often click the button and don't actually wait for the correct answer or don't talk to each other. So there's a little bit of a learning curve with it. Usually once you do it once, the students understand and they know to make sure to talk to each other. But reinforcing that and giving really good directions helps a lot with this one. But once they get it, it's like one of the students' favorite activities that we do. They absolutely love it. And Katrina, I'll turn it back over to you.
So next, I'm going to be talking about Voicethread. Voicethread is a collaborative multimedia slideshow creator. So basically, what I like to call this is it's the advanced 2.0 premium version of a voiceover PowerPoint. So what I do is I make a voiceover PowerPoint and then I upload this and I put it into Voicethread and link that directly into my LMS. This is the only one that is not free here, but it's pretty, I think for the year, I spent less than $70 on it for the year to try it out, and it did work very well. I'm not sure yet. I'm probably going to re-up it. I'm going back and forth to see if there's if I can get away with just using something like Edpuzzle or something in my LMS so I don't have to pay again, but I'm going back and forth on that. And so I create my voiceover PowerPoint. I put that into Voicethread. And what actually happens is students can then go and watch the PowerPoint, but instead of just sitting there and watching it and probably just speeding through it or not watching it at all, students can actually pause the PowerPoint or pause the lecture right where they have a question or comment, and they can draw right on the slide. They can insert a text comment. They can insert an image. They can insert a video comment. They can post all of their questions. And what's great is all of those questions and annotations stay on the Voicethread. So let's say I put up the Voicethread and Ashley is the first student to go and view. So she listens to the lecture and I'm going to put, this is that turned out blurry on the, on the conversion here. But this was a slide that I put up, and what you can hardly see is you see some initials here at the side. Those are actually all of my students that have commented, and you can see along there's these little blue dots or stretch of blue, and that means that a student has annotated or put a video there. And so let's say Ashley's the first person, she goes and views it, she asks some questions, she leaves. Now let's say Robin is the next person to come in, my next student. She will be able to see all of Ashley's questions, images, annotations, and how I've responded. So what's great is I really use this as a way to try to get back and simulate what would happen in large and small groups discussions as we're doing our traditional lecturing. And so then I can go back, I can answer to the students. They have the permanent answer there. Before they post, they can check their classmates' questions. Maybe a classmate already asked that, which is really great for review. So that students really liked this and found this really easy to use. And if I'm going to use this face-to-face, I can see how well this will fit for me, as I'm somebody that uses more of a hybrid or flipped classroom model. So I could have students watch the lecture before class and have them put all of their questions and comments by a certain time. Then I would be able to collect those questions and comments, and we can spend actual class time, not just having me lecture at or to them, but we can actually then use the questions and comments that they put on Voicethread before coming to class as an activity in class. So to have them work through the questions, or I can answer the questions for them live and in person. So I'm thinking about using this as more of an entry ticket system, and then having Flipgrid be my exit strategy. And next, we're going to be talking about different communication tools.
All right, so we are going to go over GroupMe and Remind, but a couple more that you can use also is Discord, Slack, and WhatsApp. So my team uses GroupMe literally all day, every day. I have it open on my computer all the time, and it's also on my phone. It's how we communicate absolutely everything, basically. So GroupMe is a group texting app that can be used on a phone and on a computer. I really like GroupMe because it's usable by iOS, Android, Windows Phone, and Windows 10. Also, my students on campus use GroupMe themselves. I actually found out about this technology from them. They use it in their clubs and organizations. So it's something that they were already familiar with. I wasn't teaching them something new. So using kind of meeting students where they're at was kind of the key with this one, where they already were familiar. It was just asking them to join another group. With this, your name is the only thing that appears. Your personal phone number is not shared, and that's the same with your students, so it helps with privacy. You can also create group messages with up to 500 users, and you can message people individually as well. So with that, we create groups with all of our classes, and it's been really, really awesome for students to be able to ask questions. And I also use it for all of my employees that work for me. It is very similar to Remind. Mm-hmm. You can also create calendar events, reminders, send pictures, create polls, share files. So on this next page where the examples are, the first picture has the different groups. So you have different, you can label them whatever you want. Usually we have class ones, so we'll label them, Math 114 and with the CRN, and then add students to that. You can have everything in one spot. So you can put different pictures in there. You can send them files. You can create polls, different calendar events, and then also you can send emojis, which students love doing, and adding pictures and things like that. So, and then the picture next to that is an example of what an event would look like. So we often do that for creating reminders of when our class is or when homeworks are due, posted in there, and then it pops up. Students can say if they're going to attend or not. And then we can also create polls. So let's say I'm trying to find out, when could we meet for office hours, or, what questions they might have, or do you want to do an extra review session? We can do that right in there. So for us, like I said, we make one for every single class each semester. We also create groups for smaller group studies. So, and Katrina, you can go on to the next slide. Mm-hmm. So when students want to connect a little bit further, we can create a smaller group meeting for them so they can communicate with that. They can also send direct messages to you, which is really nice, but also you can direct message them. So let's say somebody missed class that day, you want to follow up with them. It's a really nice, easy way to follow up with them. And as we all know, students tend to not answer emails all the time. So it's a very easy, quick way, goes directly to their phone, where they can answer it. And one of the things that I really love about this is I use it on my computer. So I actually have it pulled up the entire day on my computer. So if anybody messages me, it just flashes and I can just pull it right up, answer a student's question, and they get immediate answers from me. Whereas if it's an email, sometimes it just takes a little bit longer. Maybe I don't have it open, I don't have it on my phone, or I do have it on my phone, but I don't actually pull my email up. This comes through as basically like a text message. And then we also create, again, those calendar invites for class times, homework due dates, test dates, office hours. A lot of times, students just forget when your office hours are. So if you have it automatically in there, it's really nice. Sending polls out, pictures. We do this actually a lot in class, where if we are working on a question, especially because we have so many math classes and science classes, we'll ask the students in their groups to take a picture of their work and send it to us so we can see it, but also the whole entire class can see it. We can all see what the answers were and also see where they might have gone wrong. They also send questions if they're working on their homework and they're stuck and they're not sure where to go next. They'll send something so we can take a look at it. And a lot of times the students jump in and answer before we even get to it, which is really awesome. And then again, like I said, logging into a computer, I've also shared files and just allows for easy response.
Just because we're about to run a little bit out of time, I'm not going to talk about Remind. It's very similar to GroupMe. It just does more basic texting. What I wanted to make sure and point out though, when you're using these types of tools, is that to make sure that you have some communication policies in place about what students should and should not be using this type of, technology before. And, I've had to teach a fair amount of netiquette to my students this year, there's going to need to be some explicit policies of when to use this, how to use this, and how it can be helpful. Okay. So just to wrap up in some final takeaways here, and I'll do mine quickly and leave another minute for Ashley. So I'm going to be still continuing to use these technology tools to engage, even though I'm going back into the classroom. There are some parts of online teaching that I'm going to miss, which is having that the digital whiteboard. The chat function has been amazing. A lot of my students do so much work in the chat. They're not comfortable necessarily unmuting themselves or turning on their video camera, but they're doing so much with the chat window. So I'm going to be bringing small little physical whiteboards back into the classroom like I've done before. I give each student a small whiteboard, a little eraser and a marker. I encourage them to doodle before they go onto their phone and interrupt my class. So that's nice. But also that way I can have everybody engage, everybody answer, everybody writes down a piece of information. For watching videos in class, I give them direct prompts that they need to respond to on their whiteboards. I'm also looking into using something like Discord or Slack to just have a back channel chat going and keeping that up on the screen as another way for students to participate. And the community building has been so important online. And I know I've done a better job of that online than when I was face-to-face. So I'm really going to be bringing that in and not just spending that first class meeting being, hey, I'm Katrina, here we go. We all feel comfortable, right? And let's jump in. You reviewed the syllabus. We're good. Let's get to content. I'm going to be spending that first 2-3 weeks really doing community class builders, really making sure everybody has the tools they need and understand to be ready. Ashley?
So we learned that the online sessions were extremely effective. I always say, we really thrived in this environment. And so we're going to actually offer face-to-face, but we're actually going to offer synchronous remote sessions as well. So any classes that are online, we're now supporting those. We actually weren't able to do that before because of the modality, but now we know how to do that and we'll be continuing to do that. We also will use all of the technologies in both modalities. So I'm currently working on my training for next semester, and same as what I did here, kind of talking to my students about, okay, how do you use Jeopardy Labs if you're teaching virtually, but also if you're teaching in person, and what does that look like? And, a lot of these, it's really great because they totally can be used in both. And then also continuing to use GroupMe to encourage communication and collaboration outside the classroom and send reminders. It really just made a huge impact for us and was a way for students to just always feel like they could reach out and talk to us and that someone was there. Whether that was content related or just personally, they had someone available to them. If you have any questions, I know we ran out of time here, but both of our emails are on here. Please feel free to email us. We'd be happy to talk to you more. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, everyone. I know we're running over, so I don't know if we even have time for questions, Jamie.
People can stay. I'm certainly happy to keep this up. This was amazing. I wish I had so much time in my day so I could play with all of these tools and integrate them into my classroom or even to professional development. So thank you for sharing. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to post in the chat or to, turn on your microphone and participate that way.
I did see one that Vandora had about if we provide these alternative ways for communicating, what about speaking in person to each other and disagreeing? And I agree with you. I think how I would I don't mean counter as in like I'm trying to be combative, but how I would counter that is that I think it always depends on what is the goal of what you're hoping to accomplish. So if I just want students, as I'm lecturing or as we're doing something to just be putting up thoughts and having a back channel, I think using Discord or Slack is totally fine. If what I want to be focusing on are oral communication skills and being able to debate and argue, then I'm going to use something different. And so I often have debates in my class as well. And I've done those through Zoom with breakout rooms and Google Docs and those things. I think some of these alternatives to communicating for me is a way to ensure that we have a more even playing field for everybody and that there's alternatives that everyone is comfortable with, especially with my population. There always tends to be a couple of people that always want to dominate, and then maybe some more introverted individuals don't get the chance. So this is my way to give a lot of alternatives to help with that.
I get that. I guess I just figured it'd be easier for me to speak it than type it. My major thing is that I teach race and ethnic relations. So they walk into the class day one with different opinions and ideas about things, right? So when we talk about things like microaggressions and stuff, they're afraid to disagree with each other publicly because they don't want to be the bad guy. So then I get these long explanatory emails, right? And I'm trying to get the long explanatory emails discussed in class instead of me summarizing it and discussing it in class. And I guess that's what I thought I was going to get out of this, but I don't know. How would you do that?
I mean, I think what you're talking about, and I'm wondering if this is part of the community building and items that you're doing that first, few days. So I'm wondering if you could even do some things in class or have some videos where, and I did this with a class where we're talking about disability and some things come up, we talk about intimate relationships and disability, and they're like, great, I'm talking about sex with my professor. Awesome. And so, in the first 3 weeks of class, I did some simulations through some YouTube videos where I showed people arguing and disagreeing. And we had some comments about what went well, what went poorly, how could you disagree, how could you continue the conversation. And then I had students role play in small breakout rooms and had them come back and and we did this a few different times and rate themselves. How uncomfortable was that? Do you think you did well? What could you improve upon? Did you let everybody speak? If you disagreed with somebody, do you think you were doing it in this way? So I'm wondering if you could do some modeling and simulations through the first few weeks and be like, we are going to get personal, deep, and uncomfortable. You are going to mess up. You're probably going to offend somebody in here. And what happens when we offend somebody, and how can we get things back on the roll? And then you can introduce alternatives for communicating after there's some ground rules established and some simulations, and you have that kind of community building there where people feel like it's safe, and actually get them comfortable with disagreeing and practice disagreeing. That's my you maybe you already do these things anyway.
So All right, so if I'm going to use the technology to do this,
Mhm.
then it wouldn't be something that's more like a Kahoot or Jeopardy, because that's more of a quizzing thing.
Right.
Instead, I would use GroupMe or something. Is that what you're saying?
I think you could use a GroupMe. You could do this through a Jamboard or a Padlet, or you could have them do something on, annotating different documents or videos that they're watching and putting their
Okay.
comments. And maybe you could also do this through a Flipgrid discussion too. They watch the simulation, or they show how they're going to disagree with somebody, and somebody can comment on if they use the strategies or not. So I think you'd also use maybe a Flipgrid video discussion for that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great question.
Anybody else have questions for Katrina or Ashley? We'll wait for that little awkward silence just to make sure. If not, I want to thank you again to both of you for a really engaging and kind of invigorating session today. I hope that everybody else is coming away with it with as much like yes as I am. So I am really grateful to all of you. And to our audience members,